Thanks, Jerry, and thanks to the audience today and those that are tuning in via the live stream. As Jerry said, Encounter Resources is a project generator and exploration company with a focus here in Western Australia and the Northern Territory. We believe that we can get the most exploration value for our dollar by partnering and collaborating with other companies, and we've done that on a number of occasions in recent years. That enables us to go into new areas, to chase bigger targets and to new frontiers to try to find major new large-scale copper deposits. We are very much focused on copper, and that's been, the metal that we think most of the major mining companies want in their portfolio more than any other at this point in time. We've got a terrific number of partnerships, and we've been very quick to move on new data to establish a very large project portfolio in the Northern Territory covering over 30,000 square kilometres and a large portfolio in the West Arunta and the Paterson Province in Western Australia. So last year was a big year for Encounter. We had a huge expansion in our project portfolio in the Northern Territory following the identification of copper in a number of drill holes and also at surface in a number of locations. We had high-grade copper drilled in the Paterson towards the back end of the last year, and also some really interesting IOCG type alteration at the very first drill hole at our Aileron project. We did a partnership agreement with BHP in May last year, bringing them into our Elliott project in the Northern Territory, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And in October, November, towards the end of the year, we separated our gold business in the Tanami. We got a very large position there, which was in joint venture with Newcrest. We got the project back. We demerged that, and there was a $10 million IPO. And they've assembled a terrific team with Peter Buick, Justin Osborne and Clayton Davies, between them about 75 years worth of experience exploring in one of Australia's most prospective gold belts. So if you haven't heard about the Hamlin Gold story, I suggest you follow it up. This is a summary of the project portfolio in those three regions that I've talked about: the Paterson Province, the West Arunta in Western Australia and in the Northern Territory. I'll start with a summary as to why we're in copper. And now there's been a lot of people talking about a number of the minerals. From my perspective, there was a paper written by John Wronski, one of our directors, back in 2009, talking about the requirement for a renaissance in greenfields exploration. And it sat there talking about how the industry is doing a lot of brownfields exploration. We're not finding new provinces, and the demand continues to grow, and we're going to reach a pinch point. And that's exactly where we are today in a lot of these commodities, not just copper. And I think that's why we're seeing an underinvestment in new province exploration over a period of probably 25 years, and now the industry's playing catch up. So this is the company. Paul Chapman's the chairman. He's been very successful in a number of companies over the last 20 years. Peter Buick and Dr. John Wronski sit on the board, driving our small dedicated technical team. Philip Crutchfield's a QC out of Melbourne with expertise in commercial transactions, and he's very handy to have on a board when we've got a number of partners that are a bit bigger than us. We've got a sound cash position, and we've got a big year coming up. So let me just start in the Paterson Province. Now, we first secured our position in the Paterson Province back in 2008 on the basis that this was one of the frontier areas of Western Australia that had been underexplored. Today I'll talk a little bit about our Lamel project, which is located about 25 kilometres northwest of Telfer, where we've been working up a project over the last few years. And 2021 and the diamond drill program that we completed in September, October last year was really important. We defined an extensive blanket of supergene copper gold at the June prospect there, over a kilometre long. We did the first systematic diamond drilling, and 3 holes hit what we believe is the prospective package in that diamond drill program. We were following up an RC hole which was 132 metres at 0.3 gold and 0.1 copper. which was a really nice start, and drilled a hole underneath that, and we drilled 1.5 metre at 19% copper at depth. We stepped 200 metres away, which is on the basis of our heritage line clearance, and drilled another hole, and we hit multiple narrow, high-grade copper gold reefs over a rock package over 200 metres thick. We think these are exactly the sort of intersections you're going to see quite proximal to a Winu or a Aileron, and we're looking forward to getting out there early in the season this year. And let me just run you through a section through those three drill holes, just to give you a bit of indication of what we were talking about. You can see we're obviously pretty excited when we started to see some of this drill core. We think we're very close to the core of what's going on here at June. We're doing a gravity survey in the coming weeks or before the end of March, and we'll be planning to drill there on the basis of that. So that'll be our first drilling in 2022, and it's shaping up as an exciting place to find a potential new addition to the discoveries in the Patterson. We're also working together with one of our partners, IGO. They're doing some terrific work, really testing a number of new ideas, new technologies in the Patterson province, and we're working together with them. They're pulling together their targets at the moment, and we'll look forward to informing people as the drilling commences in 2022. Now, the Northern Territory we call Australia's next hotspot for copper. It already is one of the hottest spots for copper in Australia and base metals. And this has really come about by what was a very important investment by the federal Australian government and the Northern Territory Geological Survey, where they targeted this area between Mount Isa and Tennant Creek, two major mineral fields, and in between, in that sort of greater Macarthur Basin area, there has not been a lot of additional exploration. They provided extensive new data sets across this region, which have attracted an enormous amount of attention from juniors and majors alike, including BHP, Rios, Oz Minerals and Teck. This area is largely pegged now. There was hardly a tenement in this region before that exercise started. We were one of the early movers into this region, and the Elliott project was the first project that we picked up. Now, this was the project. This was a hydrogeochem anomaly. One of the things they did, this is obviously some of Australia's best cattle country. Every 5 to 10 kilometres there's a station bore. They went and sampled the water in these station bores and did what they call a hydrogeochemical survey across the Northern Territory. 18 of the top 20 samples clustered at Elliott, right at a key structural intersection at the southwest margin of the Beetaloo Basin. We looked at this, we looked at other data as well. We saw there was some surface geochem indicating there was copper in the region. We took this project to BHP and we did a $25 million earn-in deal, and this is they're pursuing that project. Now, this is a sort of place where we're not looking for one deposit. Where this is a 50-kilometre long copper anomaly in that data set, we're looking to find a new belt of copper deposits, and that's kicking off this year with the on-ground exploration. BHP is planning diamond drilling and seismic surveys, and we'll be very interested to see how they go. There's a lot of really neat things you can do when you're going into a new region like this, and this is one of the things. When they drilled those water bores, they kept little vials of the samples, about every 3 metres worth. We've been systematically going through that over the last 2.5 years with a handheld XRF and along some key structural corridors, and that's added a number of projects and enlarged existing projects that we've got in the Northern Territory, giving ourselves an internal proprietary data set in the Northern Territory, which is giving us a bit of a head start in a few areas. One of those areas is Jessica. And this was a region where one of those water bores had some chips, which you can see there in the top left of the image there, which had 3 metres at 1.5% copper in an untargeted water bore from just below the surface. We extended that project along the corridor to the northwest, where we were seeing additional support in the water bore sampling. And really over the last 18 months, this has been a really hot area in Northern Territory, I should say, where people have been finding copper at surface. The National Drilling Initiative through the Minex CRC drilled copper in their stratigraphic holes, and further out to the east, as part of that Exploring for the Future program, the government drilled a 1.7 kilometre deep hole at Carrara to demonstrate that the same geology that's hosting Century and Mount Isa is coming back to surface in the Northern Territory on the margin of the other side of the Carrara Basin. Now we've got a very large land position there, and interestingly, that untargeted stratigraphic hole once again had some copper sulphides, but had significant zinc sulphides in that core. More than's been logged so far, and we've had a look at that core. Moving to the south, just on another project which is going to see a lot of activity in 2022 for us is our Sandover copper project. This is an area 170 kilometres northeast of Alice Springs. Historically, there's been some copper mapped at surface, a stratigraphic horizon that had copper associated with it. We secured the project. The horizon was mapped over 20 kilometres. We went to an area about 6 kilometres, those 4 areas. We went and sampled. We got up to 20% copper at surface. It's a Neoproterozoic sub-basin at the southern margin of the Georgina. It looks as closer analogy to the Zambian copper belt as we've seen. We're working with a number of experts in that field. And these are the sort of things we were finding. If you look at those 2 areas, Area 1 and Area 2, there's some aerial photos of the sort of horizon that we were sampling out there, and an image of the sort of float that we're seeing at surface. So this is classic Zambian copper belt setting. It's very early days. We've mapped this. Obviously, it's been mapped historically over a large area. We think it extends further outside of that based on some geophysical reviews we've done, and you'll be hearing a lot more about Sandover as we can get across the Great Divide. I'll just quickly finish in the West Arunta. Now this is a project and a district that we're seeing a lot of activity for copper and also more recently rare earths. This is an IOCG potential. There's been 1 hole drilled in that entire package. It was 158 metres deep. It failed with a mechanical issue on a drill rig. It intersected some really interesting IOCG-type signatures with gold, copper and rare earths. We completed a gravity survey in November last year in that magenta box, and you can see the outcome there is we've identified some really interesting coincident magnetic gravity anomalies in the nearby. But also while we're out there, and the team had a helicopter in the area, we went and trialled a few surface sampling techniques, and we took, I think it was a handful of samples just to see where there's a bit of residual geology coming through the sand out there. They sampled up to 0.5% rare earths. Now we've got 2 sample points there. One down here where we sampled off the deck, and the drill hole itself, both having more than 0.5% rare earths in them. I think that's telling us that this area is quite alive from a rare earth perspective, and we're looking at this both from a pathfinder towards IOCG mineralisation, but also as a standalone opportunity. So things that are coming up. The first on-ground activity this year is going to be at Lamel in the Paterson province, where we've got a gravity survey followed by diamond drilling. We're keen to do more surface sampling now that we've proven that these techniques can work at Aileron. Sandover and Jessica, we've just talked about. At Jessica and Carrara, we've got a gravity survey in conjunction with the Northern Territory Geological Survey that's going to finish off in the first part of this year. BHP is going to kick off their exploration at Elliott. And IGO's got a lot of work planned in the Paterson province, and we're ongoing. We look at all of our projects at various gating points. We make decisions as to whether to partner or do it 100%. So we think we've got the foundations established for what's going to be a major exploration push in Central Australia, and we're well positioned in 3 of the main districts that we think are going to deliver success. We've got market dynamics in copper that have never been better. We think there's sedimentary copper deposits can produce high-grade deposit styles, and that's why the major mining companies, and a lot of them are shifting a lot of their resources towards looking for that style of copper. We think Central Australia is a great place to be looking for it. We're maximising our exploration dollar through partnering with major mining companies, which gives you this evidence of the sort of scale that we're chasing here, and that's why we're attracting these partners on board. And we think we have exceptional leverage for our shareholders to benefit for what's going to be, I think, a very exciting 5 to 10 years for copper in Australia. Thank you.